Today, our guest is a Dr. P.K. Bhattacheryay. Doctor is an MD qualified doctor and has more than 51 years of clinical experience, something great as far as this doctor is concerned. He was a former professor and HOD of Department of Organon Burden Homeopathic Medical College, West Bengal. And he has done lot of literary works, particularly more on Organon and Materia Medica. He has written a lot of works in journals and souvenirs, as well as he was an editor at different journals also. Has presented many papers in state and national level, winner of many awards at state and national level. Today's subject, as you know, is anamnesis.
Good evening to all. I am Dr. P.K. Bhattacheryay from Durgapur, West Bengal, India. At the outset, I pranam to my parents and to my all gurus who have taught me homeopathy in this auspicious day of Guru Purnima. I convey my sincere thanks to this forum who are doing a noble job towards propagating homeopathy globally. My today's subject is anamnesis. A very good, interesting subject. I will only attend the theoretical part and importance of anamnesis in today. Why I have chosen this subject, anamnesis? This is not a new word to homeopathic profession, but underestimated, no doubt of it. There was a time, even during Hahnemann, if 4 doctors were given a case taking from a single patient, all the doctors used to prescribe same medicine from the 4 doctors. But nowadays, what is happening? If 10 prescribers are given same case taking, 10 prescription may come up. Why? Because we seldom take pain to do anamnesis of the case. I think the day has come to explore anamnesis to the fullest extent. With my little effort, I will try to do so. Anamnesis is usually known to us as a medical history. I'm not going with the literal meaning. Medical history, and this is still prevailing in our student life, particularly myself was taught anamnesis as cause is to effect relationship, finding process is known as anamnesis. But this is not good enough. Head injury followed by memory loss, natrum sal. Head injury followed by convulsion or spasm, cicuta. This type of teachings were taught in our student life, considering the history and the effect relationship. But it is not so easy or not so useful. We must achieve cure. Actually, what we do nowadays, in spite of our best effort, considering all the symptom totality, we are palliating the cases, just removing the symptoms for the certain period. What does cure actually means? Permanent restoration of health. What does it? Permanent restoration of health. Permanent means lifelong, 10 years, 20 years. It's not so. Vital derangement, what has taken place, that is to be restored. Unless you are restoring the derangement, you cannot achieve cure. Susceptibility remains within, it will invite disease. We know the history behind discovery of myogens. Before 1828, Hahnemann, one of the best prescriber, in spite of his best prescriptions, after curing, diseases were coming back again and again. What compelled Hahnemann to devote to find out the cause behind these relapses? And he found myogens are the causes behind. Cure means annihilation of the disease in its whole extent. We know it well. Now, whole extent means not the symptoms what are outwardly reflected. Even the derangement, that is also to be extinct. Otherwise, diseases will come back again. Removal of the symptoms means of the entire collection of the perceptible phenomena. Patient is to be restored to the healthy condition what he earlier was enjoying. The integrity of the vital force to be restored. What does it mean? His body and mind integrity, harmonious coordination between body and mind to be established. This do we get in our practice? Honestly answer it, probably it will be no. Because we are touching the surface symptoms, seldom we pay attention to the deeply rooted myogens. Unless we erude those myogens, we cannot achieve the cure what for homeopathy is today running. We know Hering has given a beautiful law of direction of cure. Hering is famous for it. I will not go to explain these particular 5 points. We all know it. But I want to draw your attention that where Hering has written this particular law of cure. Dr. Jain Kanjilal, when I asked these questions to Dr. Jain Kanjilal, he was also reluctant. He told, take this analytic mind of Hering, you will get. After going through that book, I told, sir, there is nowhere Hering has said about the law of direction of cure. Then ultimately I found in some net article that in the 4th edition of Organon, English translation was made by Dr. Hempel. Those who are interested with history, they know it well. And this Hempel's, in that Hempel's translatory work, introduction was written by Dr. Hering. In that introduction of 4th edition of Organon, this law of direction of cure was written, but that too not in this framing. Scatteredly, all these points were written by Hering in that very particular article, since that Hempel's translatory works have been destroyed because it was full of erroneous society, American society destroyed this translatory work, and Tafel was entrusted after many years after Tafel wrote the translatory works, and he given us the 4th edition of Organon and 5th edition of Organon. Now, actually, we, with due regard, with full esteem, I like to comment what we know all, that it is the Herring's law of direction of pure. Herring is the contributor, original contribution. But from the book Chronic Disease, I can show you that this Herring adopted from the Hahnemann's Chronic Disease book. If we go through the Sora chapter, para 114, please allow me to read these lines, because Herring's law of direction of pure is very important. We do not or cannot follow Kemp's 12 observation in our regular practice. We mostly depend on Herring's law of direction of pure. But Hahnemann has given law of direction of pure much far better than even the Herring, what I like to emphasize today. In para 114 of Sora chapter, what Hahnemann says, the latest symptoms that have been added to a chronic disease, which has been left to itself, are always the first to ail in an antisodic treatment. Mind it, every word of Hahnemann to be studied very carefully. Latest symptoms that have been added to the chronic disease which has been left to itself. These final symptoms, last symptoms, sometimes what happens, it spontaneously disappears. And its disappearance, you may think that your medicine is active. It may not be. If it is left to itself and after your antisodic treatment, this is disappearing, then you can expect it is running in the path of cure. Next point, Hahnemann says, but the oldest ailments and those which have been most constant and unchanged, mind the points, most constant and unchanged, among which are the constant local ailments, are the last to give way. Oldest ailments, local ailment, constant ailment, unchanged ailment. These are the adjectives which we must take into our attention. Hahnemann, in good many places, have mentioned these constant, original, but these words have not drawn much attention in our profession. Constant means which symptoms are remaining constantly, unchanged. That constant ailment, what is local? It is not that oldest ailment, which is local. Local means manifested locally. That will go away for the last. Still, you cannot expect cure. Next point Hahnemann is adding. This is only affected when all the remaining disorders have disappeared and the health has been in all other respects almost totally restored. Last symptom gone, oldest one gone, remaining disorder also should disappear. Then and then only you can expect you are in right track of cure. Again, Hahnemann is saying there are good number of diseases. Hahnemann has given two instances. One is hysteria, another is epilepsy. These are recurring diseases. If these two disappear, still you cannot think you have cured the disease. This has to be reliable and lasting suggestion. Otherwise, you cannot expect cure. Why I am drawing so much emphasis over this Herring's law of direction of cure or Hahnemann's law of direction of cure? Because we seldom witness cure of these variety in our regular practice. What we see, what we feel, what we think cure, patient is not suffering from his sufferings. So he is cured. It's not shown. Homeopathy is not offering for palliation. Homeopathy offers cure and what we cannot have without attending fundamental chronic miasms. Before discovery of miasm, what was the Hahnemannian feeling? Their beginning was promising, continuation less favorable, outcome hopeless. Yes, sir. After practicing 5 decades, I still feel the same kind thing is going on. While we start our treatment, brilliant result. Gradually, patient come, sir, this is the again coming, sir, this problem was not with me, now having, and gradually patient leave us. What Hahnemann told in the year 1828, in this 2023, still we are getting the same result, same effect, same impression. Now, anti-miasmatic treatment, we know it will cure the patient radically. By this anti-miasmatic treatment, we can witness Herring's law of direction of cure, but it is not the only effect of anti-miasmatic treatment. Anti-miasmatic treatment gives us something more. Ortega, in his book Notes on Miasm, he says, it is not to safeguard the individual. You are curing an individual, but he will pass away. What is the use? Anti-miasmatic treatment can safeguard the whole species. Next generation also will be free from susceptibility because we are making free of Shora to that particular individual. Okay, is it only Ortega? Hahnemann has not given any hint in this regard. In 6th edition of Organon, go to the section 284, footnote 164. Pregnant ladies, if we treat, Hahnemann directly named the medicine sulfur in new dynamization. Hahnemann, after discovering miasm and after discovering new dynamization, he was so hopeful that he was claiming that if we administer sulfur in new dynamization to a pregnant woman, the fetus within will be free from Shora. Thereby, we can protect posterity in advance. So, such a promising thing, miasm, have not got necessary attention of the profession. What is really an unfortunate for the whole fraternity. Why? Why this mistake we are committing? Why we are not attending miasms? Why are attending miasms but not getting sufficient result? We only cover the surface symptoms and that too not the whole, and match with the drugs. J.H. Allen in his book Chronic Myasm says, you are not a symptom doctor. Symptom doctor means matching the symptom of the patient with the symptom of the drug. It is not meant for homeopathy. It is not meant for you. You are a complete doctor. No other string can claim as a complete doctor except homeopathic doctors. Matching of symptoms of the disease with the symptoms of the medicine we do. This is not really good enough. We have got to dig down more deeply if we want to get at the heart of homeopathic prescribing. Heart of homeopathic prescribing means arrangement of the vital force to be touched. We know there are three dynamics: disease dynamics, medicine dynamics, and the vital dynamics. Nowhere there is any material entity we consider. Material entity is definitely required, because without matter, spirit cannot remain. They have no existence. Just for their existence. But actual work is done by these three dynamics. Disease dynamics to be matched with the medicinal dynamics, so that vital dynamics get rid of the affection of the disease. This type of thinking, this type of processing to be made by a real homeopathic doctor, and that can only be done through the study of the miasms to the fullest extent. In the year 1975, the then All India Editors Guild, just I'm giving a history, All India Editors Guild was a very vital organization in the early 70s to mid 70s. Sorry. In the year 1975, there was a seminar at Pune. 4 or 5 days seminar was organized, where the stalwarts like Dr. Devan Harishchandra, Dr. Jain Kanjilal, Dr. Jugol Kishore, Dr. P. Shankaran, many, S.R. Wadia, etc., etc., all were present. They were puzzled. What is happening with homeopathy? People are doing this and that in the name of homeopathy. So they select the seminar in the name different approaches in finding similimum. One, and another seminar simplifying homeopathy. In this heading, 2 seminars were held for 2 days. Sorry. More than 40 approaches evolved from the senior, junior, and mediocre doctors from all over India. I could have reproduced in this slide, but I think it is not important because many ones are useless, unnecessary, irrelevant. I have not considered them as an approach. But these 4 approaches, what we are going on regularly from the top doctors to the minimum doctors who are ardent followers of homeopathy, who practice homeopathy according to organon, they are also baffled in complete cure. First, suppose characteristic totality. We all feel proud that we, in our totality, we have followed Bonnie-Hoshen method from particular to general. Then we have repertorized, then we have consulted materia medica and prescribed the medicine, and then general follow-up as per the rule. Other group came from generals to particulars. They are taking consideration with the characteristics, etc., etc. This is one group. They claim they are in right track. A good number of true homeopathic doctors, ardent follower of organon and homeopathy, they used to do this very practice. Next group, keynote approach. We know that it is the keynote prescriber means Calcutta prescribers. I also belong to the Kolkata school. Dr. B.K. Bose, many doctors who were Santi Saha, etc., 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 they all used to popularize this keynote approach. This keynote approach actually came from Lippi, Gansi, Allen, Nash, Bogart, etc., etc., and their book we can go, if we go through, all the keynotes we will get. Now, keynote, even I am telling for the many good practitioners, they choose the keynote and they summarize with the totality. Then only they apply. Keynote means with this symptom only they are prescribing. No, I am not talking about those doctors who are freely use one symptom and giving one remedy. No, keynote along with the relevant totality. They apply. This is another group. Another is etiological approach. Nowadays, in the day of YouTube, in the day of seminar presentation, we see doctors are presenting cases after cases with one event, emotional or physical, and suppression thereafter disease produced, and with that they are prescribing disease is vanished. This physical, mental, or emotional illness or events, merely touching these events with your similar medicine cannot eradicate the disease to the whole extent. That is the derangement of the vital force. But what to do? Miasmatic approach. Shora, syphilis, psychosis. Now people are adding more miasms. Pseudoshora, tuberculum. These have definitely a helpful arena. But nowadays, cancer, dysentery, etc., ringworm, etc., etc., what is going on, adding on? I don't believe it is required, not required. More the more, if you beg to me to state my feeling, I will say, not my saying, from the Hahnemannian writing, I will say, Shora, without Shora, syphilis and psychosis cannot come. Shora is the fundamental miasm. For that reason, wherever anti-miasmatic treatment Hahnemann tried to mention, in most of the instances, he has mentioned anti-shoric treatment. Seldom he have used antisyphilitic, antipsychotic. We blame Hahnemann that he, for Shora, used so many pages, but he spared for syphilis and psychosis only very few pages. Why? We believe that Hahnemann had no time as such after Shora discovery to explore syphilis and psychosis extensively. Definitely, he had time saving. But Shora is the mother of syphilis and psychosis. If we go through the organon, we will come in that conclusion. We know James Cross have written the introduction of 6th edition of organon. With due apology, I beg to state the learned James Cross misunderstood Hahnemann because he, in his introduction, in the name of Hahnemann, or in the, not directly mentioned the name, but caesat effectus, caesat causa. That means you remove the effect, cause will be removed. Mind it, 6th edition of Organon, where the theory of miasm has been fully established. There he's stating, if you remove the effect, means if you remove the symptoms, fundamental miasm will be removed. Has Hahnemann mentioned it anywhere in his 6th edition, 4th edition, 5th edition? I will show from the right from the medicine of experience, he have never told so. Hahnemann nowhere mentioned this. Rather, Hahnemann mentions in many places that the derangement of the vital force produced disease, what itself is invisible, but manifests through abnormal signs and symptoms. And with that thought process, James Cross arrived in this conclusion: caesat effectus, caesat causa. This is absolutely wrong. What Hahnemann mentions, after removal of all the symptoms of the disease and of the entire collection of the perceptible phenomena, mind it, removal of all the symptoms, Hahnemann have not put any full stop, and of the entire collection of the perceptible phenomena. That means derangement of the vital force, what has been produced by the chronic miasm, that is also after its removal, there should or could remain anything else beside her. What I trying to explain, not the symptom removal is good enough, but the entire collection of the perceptible phenomena to be removed. Now, I asked Dr. Jane Kanjilal, when I used to attach with him very closely, perceptible phenomena, how can we remove it? This is the affection of the vital force. Dr. Kanjilal told me, yes, we can perceptible phenomena remove by dynamic phenomenal approach. What is that? Absolutely individualistic. What is the basic criteria for homeopathy? It should be holistic, right? It should be vitalistic. Vitalistic means dynamic. Dynamic means potentized. It should be semiologic, means similar medicine. So this is the approach by which this dynamic derangement we can remove from the vital force. Then and then only we can call it cure. Now I will show you what James Cross was tried to mention, tried to establish. Hahnemann was totally against of that. In the book Chronic Disease, para 3 of Sora, what Hahnemann said? Caesat causa, caesat effectus. Remove the cause, effect will be removed. What a nice and direct explanation. What more we do need? Caesat causa means the fundamental cause. Remove that fundamental cause. Disease is the result of the fundamental cause. Chronic. Now another point I like to mention in this context. We believe that chronic disease is produced by the fundamental cause, that is chronic miasm. But individual acute disease, sporadic disease, epidemic disease, all have the role of chronic miasm behind. Otherwise, these diseases also could not have. Or if you remove the symptoms, it will reappear if you do not touch the chronic miasm after removal of the acute symptoms. So, removing of the fundamental cause is essential to remove the disease, to cure the disease. Actually, this word anamnesis, Hahnemann has nowhere written. If you allow me, I can say that I have worked with the book Chronic Disease and Organon word by word. My publications are there with the words. I have nowhere found anamnesis in Hahnemannian writings. Probably so far my knowledge goes, my literary search goes, it is Bonning-Hossain first who mentioned the word anamnesis in homeopathy. Before that, in the Hahnemannian writings, lesser writings, letters, and chronic disease, Materia Medica part of the chronic disease or Materia Medica Pura, nowhere I found the word anamnesis. And Hahnemannian contemporary, they are writing small writings. So far I can procure from various sources. There also I have searched, nowhere anamnesis word I could explore. The Bonning-Hossain. Bonning-Hossain has mentioned and explained this doctrine of anamnesis. I am to cut short because time is going. Doctrine of anamnesis was given by Dr. Bonning-Hossain. What he says there in this article, Anamnesis of Psychosis, an article, we can have it from the lesser writings of Bonning-Hossain. There you can have this article, and where he is mentioning, we know that after the discovery of the chronic miasm, there was tremendous criticisms. Totally, Hahnemann was condemned, Hahnemann was derided, and people thought that in the ripe age, Hahnemann has got mad and he has given the soda syphilis psychosis for all the diseases. But Bonning-Hossain, what he's telling, it is the logical application of the doctrine of anamnesis to the chronic disease. He's not only mentioning with the medicine Thuja, he have emphatically given the psychosis symptoms. And most good number of Thuja symptoms given by Hahnemann are somewhere soric also. And what symptoms we were knowing as a soric symptom, Bonning-Hossain explained them, they are psychotic. So this doctrine of anamnesis, how it is best? It is nothing but logical induction logic. This induction, homeopathy is totally based on induction logic. This induction logic, through that Hahnemann derived these three miasms. We will get 99 case illustration in the chronic disease book where Shora has been suppressed and the consequence what was there. We can get 99 cases in the chronic disease book whereby Hahnemann's contemporaries, Hahnemann's ancestors, all their cases Hahnemann has reproduced, and thereby he has came in conclusion that soda syphilis psychosis are the cause behind venereal and non-venereal diseases. Bonning-Hossain also mentions the purely homeopathic anamnesis will lead us on the right path to enable us to achieve the cure of diseases which even to us have hitherto been incurable. If we rightly do the anamnesis of each and every case, we will achieve the cure. I was telling that Hahnemann, after discovery of the Shora, he was thinking the series of symptoms, it is not like that. Before Organon, precursor of Organon, we call it medicine of experience. In the medicine of experience, what was published in the year 1805, here also Hahnemann says symptoms not only the present symptoms are good enough to consider in our prescription, the symptoms are to be studied in their whole extent, in connection and succession. What is the connectivity with the previous one? And what are the successions, one after other? These are also to be studied. In this context, I cannot restrain myself to mention one fact. Some points at least are revolutionary, what should attend the attention with the clarification. So I think just with few additions, C.M. Boger mentions that first is anamnesis. Boger was a pillar in anti-miasmatic treatment. He says our first importance is the anamnesis. It is the greatest importance. Second is the modality. And third in importance is the concomitant. Thanks to you all for your patient hearing. I don't know how far I will be able to satisfy you, but today I have touched mostly theoretical part. In my initial lecture, I told it also. And in next lectures, I will try to how we can adopt chronic myasm in our regular practice.